Hi, I'm Trudy Reamer, and I'm so elated to be here with you because this has been something that's been on my heart for a really long time, is to create different episodes to really be talking about the humanness and the adventure after that we go on in life after something happens and occurs. So before I jump into describing what is adventure after, what does that mean? I'm going to give you a little bit of background because it'll lead right into what the adventure after is. So first and foremost, I am a certified life coach, and I've been doing that professionally for 8 years. I was doing it prior to, but I didn't actually have the practice behind me to be able to officially do it. But I was learning in my life what I was going to now use as tools to be able to share not only with my own self, but with my clients and with people who are listening to this episode. So, a little bit of background on me, because I think it's super important for you to get to know me. I actually lost my brother when I was 11 years old. It was a tragic accident and it really disrupted my entire family. Both of my parents were grieving in their own way. And I was grieving too, but I was 11, so I didn't really necessarily understand the gravity of what I was experiencing at the time. And I was really doing my best to try to get through it rather than really processing emotions at that point. It's what happened, doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong, just what happened for me. Moving forward, when I was 26 years old, my dad passed away suddenly. And this was a complete just like shock to both my mother and I. Here we were losing our second family member, and it just was really disheartening. At the same time, my dad passed away. I was actually separated from my ex-husband. When I came to learn after the fact was that my divorce actually went through the same day that my dad died. So that is a separate story that I will talk about at a different time. I don't like connecting my dad to my ex-husband, but it is something that I was going through. So not only was I losing my father, but I was also losing the marriage that I thought that I had and really had my eyes open to a completely different thing that was going on for me. After that, when I was 34, my mother passed away, and this was my last family member. And so it was devastating for me because here I am, and I'm sharing my age on purpose for all of these different occurrences because here I was 34. When I looked around at all my peers were growing families. My peers were having children. They were getting married and they were doing this. And here I was bearing my last family member. And it really became clear to me when I was literally at my mom's funeral and my best friend was there and she came with her husband. And here she is 5, 6 months pregnant at the time. And I was like, wow, such polar opposites. So my mom's parents were both alive, where both of my dad's parents had passed away, one before my dad, one after my dad. And so I really had experienced a lot of grief. So where does Adventure After come from? Adventure After comes from when I was literally standing in front of my mom's casket at her wake. I had this moment where I was like, oh my goodness, Trudy, this shit is gonna suck. And you know it's gonna suck. And you've got an act to put on here. Like you have a lot of people coming through paying their respects. This is not about you right now. What I want you to do is just let's go. Let's put on not necessarily a happy face, but let's put on being I don't even know the necessarily the proper word, but let's do this, meaning everything with her funeral, everything that was in with the house, everything that was with the estate, everything that you were going to have to do, everything. Just do it to the best of your abilities. And when you're done, you can go on an adventure after this. And so that's where Adventure After developed from. It was having this knowing that I was going through some really hard ass shit. And I was going to have to figure it out. And I was going to have to figure it out on my own. And it was not going to be easy. And what I was going to do was like treat myself for really doing the hard thing. So that's what a venture after is. So knowing that I've been through grief, there's 4 different areas typically that grief can really reside in. Death is obviously one, but that's the one people see, but the other ones are not. The 4, actually death isn't part of the 4, but the big areas is your career or your job. So loss of your career, loss of your job. The second one is relationships, the loss of a relationship, whether it's by choice, by not by choice. It could be divorce, it could be friendships, it could be like estranged family because they just aren't healthy for you. It can be so many different things in the relationship bucket, but there's a lot of grief that resides there. The third one is with your finances. If your finances have gone through a lot of turmoil, this is a space that can be one of those areas of grief. And then your last is your health. So those are the big 4 buckets. I'm sure there's others, but those are the 4 that I'm concentrating on currently. And so those areas really can have some kind of grief going on there. So anyways, a little bit more about what I'm going to be talking about here in this space is knowing my background story. I went through the emotional roller coaster where felt all alone, where I was angry, where I just didn't want to do anything, and more. I'm just scratching the surface here. So these are things that are normal in the sense that they are emotions that a human experiences. And so I want to start to talk about this because it's so important in this day and age to really be connected with knowing who you are as a person and understanding the emotions. So then you can start to like dictate what you want for your future and what you want for yourself. I know that we live in a patriarch society. No, I'm not going to go down the patriarchy rabbit hole here. That's not the point of the conversation. But the fact is we do live in a patriarch society. What does that mean? That means that's masculine energy. And so patriarchy, masculine energy. And so masculine energy is all about doing, about being productive, getting things done. It's all about the do. And the opposite of that is the feminine energy. And the feminine energy is all about the emotions. It's all about the intuition. It's all about the feels. So the two aren't isolated. I mean, they kind of are, but you need to have both. They're both energies. And so it's like a duality. And if we have too much of one and not any of the other, you're out of balance. And so we need to start to talk about the emotions so that we can actually balance between getting things done and being who we are. If we only focus on the doing, which we have been for years and centuries and so forth, we continue to get into this place where only productivity is ranked as important, and that's not necessarily true. So I'm bringing this all back to the fact that I talk a lot about emotions. I learned at a very young age that emotions are scary for people. Anytime, specifically talking about my brother, anytime, because I was a kid, I was 11, people would ask, like, do you have any brothers or sisters? That would always be one of the very first questions I would get asked by people I did not know. And I had to learn a couple things. And this is what I learned. Am I okay with having an uncomfortable conversation? Like, am I emotionally okay with having an uncomfortable conversation? And sometimes I would be, and sometimes I would not be. So let me share what the typical uncomfortable conversation was. Do you have any brothers and sisters? I have a brother, but he died. Or I have a brother. And then be like, oh, well, how old is he? And I was like, actually, he died. "Oh, I'm so sorry," was a typical conversation. So now here I am in a space where now I'm having to like, I have to deal with their uncomfortableness of my brother's death. And it was now not about my brother, because actually the other question that gets asked, I forgot this, is how did he die? What happened? And I find that really insensitive because I shared with you that my brother died. It didn't give you the right to ask what happened. And I get a lot of pushback from some people because some people will share like how their family member died just to avoid this conversation. And I'm going to call bullshit to society, thinking it's okay that you get to know what happened to my brother. If you want to know, feel free to read my memoir. It's all in there. But at the same time, it's my experience. It's my loss. It's my loss that I went through. And me telling you how he died has little to do with me or my brother and has everything to do with you and your fear of death. And so that was just really irritating. So, anyways, getting back to the point of the story, sorry, I digress. You'll learn that quickly. I kind of go off in tangents. That's who I am and what I do, because the brain is not always like very methodical in that sense. And anyways, going back to the point. So I would have to check in with myself. So if I was not feeling emotionally okay to have an uncomfortable conversation that I didn't want to have, then I would deny my brother's existence. And I would say, I didn't have any siblings because then I could just avoid the conversation altogether. So I was put in a no-win situation. Either I have to deal with someone's fear of death, or I'd have to ignore the fact that my brother ever existed. And that was like a very young learning that I had. And so I give myself a lot of love for that, my like former self, a lot of love for that, because that was so wise of me to like not have to keep having those uncomfortable conversations. So back to us being in a place where our society really, we have this thing where we don't give people the space to process things. We don't give each other this space to be in our emotions because it's uncomfortable. And once again, it's not the patriarchy or the masculine energy that is taught to us. And so, have you ever gotten angry? Have you ever gotten a little bit like anything what's perceived as less than on point? People get really, really weird about that. And it's a part of the human experience. We're not always meant to be in a space of joy. We're not always meant to be in a space of anger. There is the ebbs and the flows. And what would happen if you started to understand your emotional roller coaster rather than just going for the ride and having no clue and feeling like you're going to be thrown off at any point? So that's what I'm going to be talking a lot about. So if you are in a space where you would benefit from learning a lot about different emotions, and things that are showing up, such as people pleasing. Oh, that's one of my favorite topics. We're all people pleasers. I'll go on that in a different topic. Or boundaries. What about boundaries with people? Are you able to say no to people without feeling guilty or bad or feel like it's wrong? We'll have that kind of conversation. I'm going to check my notes to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Um, yeah, I think I want to talk about this too. So getting to the place that we are in our society, we're no longer like, first of all, we're human beings. Got that? Human beings, not human doings, human beings. And so we process things. It takes a moment. It really does. My brother died. I wasn't over it like that. I had to process this. Granted, that one took me a lot longer because I actually wasn't processing. I was stuffing shit down. And so I really didn't process it for a long time, but we need to process things. We are not AI machines. I know Chat GPT is a big thing these days where AI is happening all over the place. And AI, have you ever typed in a question and it spit out to you and it was done in like 30 seconds? Like it was quicker than it took to read it. Like it takes longer to read it. So I want to get back to the fact that like we process things and we need to go through the process and we don't need to hurry that for the comfort of others. And let's get uncomfortable, people. I just love it. So also, I'm just once again checking my notes. So I just want to create this very safe space of really being able to talk through different emotions people are having. Because a lot of times with a lot of my clients, they think that they're the only one feeling the feeling. And while their circumstances might be unique to them, their situation is very similar to other people. I can't even tell you. I wrote my own memoir. So if you want to learn more details about my life, you can. It's Adventure After a Journey in Search of Me. But I, oh, what was I thinking? Oh, I kind of forgot. Oh no, I hate when that happens. It's gone. Sorry. This is what is going to happen is I am going to forget things because I'm human. And I have made a promise to myself that I do not want to edit any of my episodes. And I know that's actually counterintuitive to every other person out there. And maybe there's some others that don't edit too, but I haven't seen that, and that's okay. But it's intentional for me to not edit any of this because we live in a very edited, filtered world, and that's not true because I think this is what I was talking about, so hopefully I'll come back to it, but we process things and when we're processing things, we don't get to edit ourselves. We don't. We're living the full life experience. I don't, I can edit now in the sense of sharing my story about losing my brother and my dad and my mom, but that's me sharing something about the past. That's not me sharing about something in the present or in the future. That's me sharing about the past that's already happened. And so I can edit that. But what's current and what happens, and this is with everything that we go through, we definitely go through a process. And it's important for us to feel that process. And so it's important for me to be real and share that like I'm not perfect, that I have things going on because I know that's true for you as well, that you have things that come up like squirrel brain is one of the things that I constantly have, but that's a part of the human experience. If if it wasn't, it would be pretty boring here on Earth. Um, I think that's all I want to cover in this very first episode. I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited to share. I'm really looking forward to really like giving some of my knowledge away that I have gained not only from learnings that I've gotten in school, in getting my certification, in life, in my experiences that I've had. I have so much to give and I'm so excited. And I really look forward to having you here on this journey with me. So much love and look forward to you speaking to you next time.